the program briefly because there have been a few changes. Before I do that, though, I want to make a couple of announcements. The first is about the interpretation kits. Just a reminder that at the end of each day, please return your interpretation kit because if something happens to one of them or we misplace one, it's 600 Swiss francs. So please help us keep costs down. Thank you. The second is about community membership forms for GAMIP. So if you're interested in becoming a community member of GAMIP, we have the membership forms up at the registration table. We've had a few requests for that. So please ask at the registration table for those. And once you fill them out, you can give them to me. Okay? And the last announcement is about a request for some language support. So we have a few people speaking languages among us who don't speak English, who don't speak English or French, which are the two languages we have being interpreted here today. So the idea is that if anyone in this room would be willing to support those people in their native languages, providing a bit of one-on-one translation during the plenary sessions and other times that it might be requested. Please let me know after this morning break, or even right now. Maybe we can do that now. So the two languages are Spanish and Russian. So is anyone here who speaks Spanish willing to sit with someone and help translate? Yes. Victoria's willing. Great. Thank you, Victoria. So I think Victoria will sit with Dulce and help with some of the translation there. Thank you. And anyone with Russian? Russian, I know that one's a little bit trickier. Okay. Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. And actually they might be in a circle meeting right now about this very thing, so they might have come up with their own solution. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, and now I'm sorry, a quick run through of the program. We're going to begin with a few presentations on civil society initiatives, some working with government, some working specifically within civil society for infrastructures for peace. Start with that before the break. And then the break will be followed by the marketplace. So this is the opportunity for all of us to get to know some of the local projects and programs that everyone here is working on. And that will be in rooms B and C. So after the break, you'll go directly to rooms B and C, where the marketplace will happen for about an hour. Then we'll return here to the room at noon for a short session on some of the nature of this summit as an infrastructure for peace in itself, and also a bit about the restorative system that we've created through this summit as well. After that, we'll have lunch and more time for open space and hatching time, after which we'll go to the International Museum of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. So that's our tour for today. We're going on a field trip. And it's about a 10-minute walk from here. So we'll go in two different groups, and Oliver will mention a little bit more on the logistics of that just before we break for lunch, because we're going straight from lunch to the museum. And when we leave for the museum, please bring all of your things with you because we will not return here, okay? And for anyone who has walking, some sort of disability or something, please find Louisa because we'll try to arrange alternative transport for you, okay? All right, so that's the flow of today. So let's jump into these presentations. So the first will be from the African Alliance for Ministries and Infrastructures for Peace, AMIP, and our first speaker is Paul Koroma from Sierra Leone, and he's with the Network Movement for Justice and Development, heading the Peace and Security Program. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all. Well, what we are seeing there is Sierra Leone. Country is going too fast. You got to start again. Sierra Leone, a country that is on the west coast of Africa of about 6 million people, divided into 4 regions and 13 districts, 149 chiefdoms, We work at all of this level. My organization is Network Movement for Justice and Development, organization that works in 5 districts in this country, and of about 30 staff working on various issues of youth empowerment, peace and security, mining and extractives, governance and accountability. My program is the peace and security, and we focus on issues that would otherwise reduce the risk of return to conflict. And in this process, we do various strategies of training, engagement with communities. We train people we call peace promoters who move around to resolve conflicts among people and communities at no cost, because access to local justice is very expensive. And training them in the skills of various tools to use the conflict transformation tools. One is mapping, and they use the mapping to analyze the conflict at their level, and after the analysis, they use the ABC triangle to deepen that analysis, and they bring it to a session which is held every month in various communities, community peace and human rights session that gives space to people to air out their concerns and find solutions to them and work on these concerns. And then in the next session, they'll come and review the action and then do further actions on the issues. This is a training also we give to youths. These are political youths, political party youths. During times of election, we train them in the use of nonviolent communication, because they are easily the people that get into violence. So they will serve as peers and moderators of various conflicts. At another level, we work in various coalitions. One is WANEP, another is PICOT, and we have a coalition working on chiefdom governance reform, and the other one is looking at accountability issues. So these organizations also do their own activities. For example, WANEP is creating peace committees in various chiefdoms around the country in the north. This is a photo of one. You have Eddie there, who is the WANEP coordinator in Sierra Leone. And these committees also involve local leaders, like the member of parliament, the town chief, the councillor, the paramount chief, societal health. These are people who form these committees, also helping people to resolve their issues at no cost. Because, as I said earlier, accessing local justice and even the formal justice is very expensive. At another level, what we call Peace and Development Forum. This is a forum where we introduce the idea of GAMIP, and we form a think tank that took this idea of GAMIP that started engaging with various levels of governance. We had already engaged with Parliament, and there was a parliamentary caucus. That was the last parliament, actually, on GAMIP, trying to see how the government can adopt the idea of a ministry or a department for peace. And also, we had engaged with the Minister for Political Affairs. But in all of this engagement, civil society, when we come together, we look at the issues of concern at national level. We form a communique. A recent communique we did in June, where all civil society, after various engagements, came together. We had to call for the establishment of a National Peace and Mediation Commission. That message was given to the president. This is just a gist of. But also we asked the government to review the TRC recommendations and ensure that the country is governed according to those recommendations. At another level, this is West Africa. You have what we call the Mano River Union, and in that union you have 4 countries, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. We have formed a civil society Mano River Union Peace Voice that is working with to establish peace constituencies along the border and trying to bring the concerns of people at the border to the level of the Mano River Union. That's the region there. And we want to look at free movement along the border, trade, and then crime. These are the issues we're working on. I thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, do we have any questions? Quickly for Paul. Any questions? We'll take one or two before we get the next presentation. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Paul. What is your greatest hope?
Oh, greatest hope. Actually, is to have a lot of what we have put in here. A peaceful society. Society where we can engage and resolve our conflicts non-violently, and people are happy. All of the things we said, that's my greatest hope, and that's what I'm working for.
One more question?
Hello, Paul. This is just a public question, you know. Your presentation is thrilling. You know that famous movie, Blood Diamond or something like that? It's about your country. I couldn't help but think, and I got to ask you, are those thugs still around? Are you in danger from that kind of stuff? It shows my ignorance, Paul. I just don't know.
I think that gives me the opportunity to share with you what we did within that. The research was done by two people, I think Ian Smiley and Lansbury from Canada. They did that study and wanted to launch the report in Canada. So my boss was in Canada and engaged with them and asked them, you cannot do a study on Sierra Leone and then you launch. We want a simultaneous launching. So it was launched in Canada and Sierra Leone as well. But our organization led the launching. Okay, and after that launching, we now engage in the process of campaigning for just mining in the country. That's why we have that program, Mining and Extractive. It has now gone into various phases. Presently, we have a national coalition on extractives that is working to ensure that we have just mining contracts and policies. Presently, the government is working on those issues to relook and review all of the contracts with mining organizations. So that process that we started led into the Kimberley process, which brought about the certification on diamonds. Okay, and yesterday I said in my group that force can sometimes bring about peace, because for our case, it was that action of the Kimberley process that actually stopped the rebels from taking the diamonds, buying arms, and coming to kill people. So eventually they were forced to the negotiation table, which led to the conclusion of the war and also the peace agreement. So that's what we've done, okay? The Just Mining campaign is still on, and we are looking at other mining issues. So a lot of community have been mobilized around issues of mining, and at the same time we're working with the government to look at reviewing mining contracts.
5 seconds, just 5 seconds. Response. Because of that movie, and I know it was so much true in Sierra Leone and what you suffer, I teach young people, and a whole lot of young women I know are not using diamonds in their wedding rings and other things, just in protest to that kind of stuff.
Thank you. And we'll take one last question very quickly before moving on.
Good morning, Paul. Well, you know, when we talk about peace in Africa, part of the system should start by considering history. The military has played in whole Africa a very negative role. And consequently, one of the issues I wanted to raise is, with your SSR, how is he doing? Because no matter what you want, you'll still need, after you think about what you want to do, to have the tool to do it, which are the security services. And I know that the reform, well, in the beginning there are many good things done, but there still are problems. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Thank you.
Okay. The security infrastructure, just when the war was coming to an end, was like reorganized. We now have a security outfit that is referred to as the Office of National Security, that has also arrangements at regional and district level. It is this arrangement that normally when we engage the government, they refer us to as the peace infrastructure for the country. But we don't believe that, because their emphasis is on security. And our emphasis is on peace. And their emphasis on security is mostly state security. Our emphasis on peace is looking at what we call human security, freedom from fear and want. So we are we are not in agreement at that level, but then we have found a way of getting civil society to play a role on these security committees. What we want is to change their mandate. Their mandate is mainly intelligence gathering for the president, and that is not what we want. So that is like the kind of arrangement, to an extent that the police is more concerned with internal security, the army is concerned with external security. Notwithstanding, civil society has been trying to engage with these security outfits to give them human rights training. And I learned from one of our colleagues that his colleague is in Sierra Leone trying to train the army in nonviolent communication. This is something I hope to follow up. So there are issues there, but to a large extent, we have found that the military, they are mostly removed from engaging at the level within the society. Okay, it's the police that we still have issues with, but then we are engaging them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, one last comment over here.
Hey, Paul. This is Berger. I will just say I'm very thrilled that you're having the support also back from Gamut, that you feel the support, so when you go further on. I do a lot of stuff with the Danish police force, and we're working with not non-violent communication, but with HeartMath and so on. So if you need anything, I will be happy to also ask the Danish government, so I'll come down and we do some stuff with that.
Okay,
I will do that with the groups that you're working with.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. And I've been informed I need to keep the time down. Apologies for that. So we'll move into a video which was sent by Jean de Dieu Bassabos, who was supposed to be here sharing in this presentation time with Paul. And for visa reasons, which I think he'll go into on this video, he was unable to join us, unfortunately. But here is his message. He is with Shalom Educating for Peace. He's the co-founder of the African Alliance for Peace. He's been a Global Alliance member since 2007. And he's currently working on his PhD at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in